Hello, folks. This is Kevin from Good Day, Good Prayers. Hope that you're having a good day. Yesterday's video spoke a bit about what some things had been said that were discussed by some generals. It was on Pastor Dave's show, and they had said that there was 101 million people illegally in the United States. Now, if you take a look at the 2020 census and you subtract 101 million people from that, that gives you 230 million Americans. That's an awful few Americans. When you take a look at the 1990 census, which was a little bit closer to mostly actual Americans, it was 248 million. Now, if the generals are correct in what they've said, that would mean that there are 18 million less people in our country that are actual U.S. citizens, plus all of the children that were born to those actual U.S. citizens. That could be any number. It could be 30, 40 million, more even. Now, it is a fact that there are people every day that are being buried legitimately in this country. And that is happening all over. However, what I think is very interesting is that if you're talking something like 50 or 60 million Americans, is it possible that there are mass graves? I have given a list of some of the areas around the country that I believe there would be mass graves. It was partly based upon my research as to where the mass grave caskets happened to be located. There were hundreds of thousands of them in several different cities around the United States. There was also 30,000 guillotines that were going to be used not just by Obama administration, but also by the Hillary Clinton administration, had she managed to get in. Fortunately, she didn't make it in. President Trump took her place. And we have not had the problems and the situations to deal with that we would have had under Hillary Clinton. And I can give you some examples. There has not been a pandemic that has killed over 100 million Americans. There has not been a nuclear war that has killed upwards of 150 million people in this country. There haven't been any other natural disasters that have taken out huge numbers of the population. And there would have been a number of things that would have been wiping the people off of the map. I still believe that whatever number we had in the 2020 census, however many actual Americans were there then, there may be fewer, but I still believe it's somewhat close to that number of actual Americans. One of the reasons why President Trump wants to just count actual Americans in the next census, which will be the 2030 census, is to kind of get a feel for how many people are actually citizens. And that will then tell us how many people we should find in the mass graves. Because if you minus the number of people that were legitimately taken care of, and then you subtract the number of people that are believed to have died, you should have somewhere between those two numbers as people that would be in mass graves. And so that is one of the things that is being looked at. They want to see what was happening between 2021 and 2024. They knew that they brought in the 20 million or 20 plus million illegals into this country. And that was to backwash, so that as American citizens were being eliminated, they could make it look like there was still the same number of people. Now, as the Trump administration has been taking the illegals out of this country, what we're seeing is a lot of the cities are starting to look kind of sparse. There aren't the traffic jams that there used to be, and so on. And so a lot of things like that are changing. A lot of things are becoming much different than what they were in years past. And that's going to make a big difference when it comes right down to it, to give us a better idea. Now, it was generals that were giving Pastor Dave the information on his show, plus a few people that are, in the know. Now, these people that we're talking about are people that have constant contact with the White House and the Pentagon and other regions of the government. And they should have some knowledge about what is what. So you can't discredit everything they're saying about the 101 million illegals. But by the same token, you have to ask yourself the question, why do those things keep biting me in the back of the neck? And the other question you have to ask is it somewhere in between what one side is saying and what the other side is saying? President Trump is saying 20 some or 30 some million. These guys who do a lot of research are saying 101 million illegals. And I think it's very interesting. And why is it different? What kind of a message are they trying to send to the American people? And when are we going to know when and where the mass graves are? I believe that there will be mass graves found. Some may be underground, maybe under cities, some out in fields away from the cities, and so on. But I believe you're going to find a number of mass graves, and I believe that we're going to find that most of the people that are there are U.S. natural citizens, or actual citizens, what I like to refer to them as. It will be a fact that in some of the desert areas in the southern part of the country, the people that came in there, especially young women and children, a lot of them were raped and murdered and left in the deserts. Not really mass graves. It was also a fact that from the northern border, a number of people came in. While everyone was watching the southern border, a massive group came in from the northern border, which is also pretty much open. So there's going to be some information that's going to be coming out eventually. What the truth actually is, why not everybody is on the same page. In fact, why are there two different sets of news? There's basic news, and then there's news for people who are awake. And I would like to see at some point in time all that news coming together. And I think part of what we're hearing here, the 100 million as opposed to the 30 million, I think that is part of that news cycle. And it'll be interesting to see what finally turns out to be the truth. This is Kevin from Good Day, Good Prayers, and I want you to have a good day.